Hello, good morning. Welcome to Stringybark Festival 2020. Thanks to Knox City Council. My name's Jasmin and I'm joining you today to talk about composting worms and the awesome things that they do for our environment. We can actually feed composting worms some of our everyday waste. Instead of it going into the bin and getting picked up by the rubbish truck every week and going off to the tip to pile up with all the other rubbish, that breaks down very slowly and gives off yucky gases into the atmosphere. So what we're going to learn is how we can work with composting worms, and they're going to be making amazing plant food out of the things that we might be throwing in the bin. So we're going to ask Tonyi the Worm. This is Tonyi the Worm. Say hi. Hi, Tonyi. And we're going to ask Tonyi what foods are okay to give to worms. And Tonyi's electronic, so when we feed special food cards to Tonyi, if that food card is of something that Tonyi likes, this is what Tonyi will say. That means yum. Yes, you can feed that to worms in a worm farm. So we're going to play a game with Tonyi, and then I'm going to take you outside to meet some real life wiggly worms in the worm farm outside. So thank you so much for joining us. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the place that I'm standing on or sitting on right now, the Wurundjeri and Bunurong people of the Greater Kulin Nations. And I pay my respect to elders past, present and emerging, and honour the ancestors of this place. I also welcome you and the traditional custodians of the place where you join me from, and I look forward to talking about how we can improve the environment right where we live and where we play. So you can play along at home with Tonyi. If you think some of the things that are under these boxes here, we're going to go through one by one. If you think that item is okay for worms to eat, you can give me a thumbs up at home. If you think, I think you should probably keep that out of the worm farm, you give me a thumbs down, okay? And then we'll ask Tonyi. So, what colour should we choose first? Okay, we'll go with green. Ooh, what have we got under green? So we have some vegetable scraps and some fruit scraps. Do you think that worms in a worm farm would eat these scraps? Yes or no? What do you think? Let's ask Tonyi. Tonyi, can we feed veggie and fruit scraps to worms in a worm farm? Yes, we can. So I'm going to save that. I'm going to put that in the tick bucket, and then we can feed that to our worms when we go out to the worm farm. Cool, we've got something saved for the worms. All right, what colour should we choose next, everyone? I heard someone say red. Let's go with red. Oh, we've got some rich paper here. So do you think we can add newspaper or some scrap paper from when you're doing some cutting out? Do you reckon that can go in the worm farm? Yeah? Or no? All right, let's ask Tonyi. Tonyi, can we add ripped paper and cardboard into the worm farm? Tonyi says, yes, we can. So I'm going to save that. And it's best if we add it as it's wet, okay? So when you're saving all these scraps, when they go into the bucket on your bench, they get nice and soggy with all the fruit and veggie scraps that we've saved. So unless you want to add some water as you go, but mostly they get nice and wet as you pile them in your bucket. Thanks, Tonyi. Okay, what colour shall we choose next, everyone? Okay, I heard someone say blue. Let's go with blue. Oh, this might trick a few people. We've got animal fur. Have you got a pet at home? Have you got any furry pets at home? If you do, you might have some of this hanging around the house. So let's ask Tonyi. Tonyi, can we feed animal fur to worms in a worm farm? Yes, you can. And you can also take the hair from your brush and give that to your worms in a worm farm as well. So that's a nice thing to add back to the soil. Okay, so I'm going to put that in the worm bucket. In it goes. Thanks, Tonyi. What colour shall we choose next? I heard someone say purple. Let's go with purple. What have we got here? We've got eggshells from breakfast. Do you think we can give eggshells to worms in a worm farm? They're quite crunchy, aren't they? Do you think worms will eat eggshells? Let's ask Tonyi. Tonyi, can we feed eggshells to worms? Yes, we can. Wow. And actually, eggshells are really important to give to our worms because they don't have teeth. What they use is their strong lips to suck their food into their throat, and they crush it with little particles like sand, or if you have eggshells in there, they use that as well to grind their food, and then it can go through their body like a paste. So it's really great to add these to your worm farm. So do you think we should add it in as a big piece like that, or do you think we should help them out by crushing it? That's right, we'll crush them up nice and small, okay? In they go. Beautiful. Who wants to choose the next colour? Okay, we'll go with orange. Ooh, what have we got here? We have onion and lemon, which is a citrus family. Do you think we should give these to worms in a worm farm? I'll give you a clue. Worms breathe through their skin, their soft, gentle skin. So do you think we should give them something that's a little bit zingy or a little bit might affect their skin? Or do you think we should keep these out of the worm farm? Let's ask Tony. Tony, can we add onion and citrus to the worm farm? Ah, so Tony didn't say yes that time, so we're going to keep onion and citrus out of the worm farm. So I'm going to put that in this box here. You can put that in the bin, or if you have a bokashi bin, that's another kind of composting way, you might add that to your bokashi bin instead. Okay, what colour are we going to choose next? I heard someone say pink. Is that your favourite colour? Let's give it a go. Ah, we have cheese and a bone from a chicken, so meat. Do you think we can add dairy, cheese and meat to worms in a worm farm? Yes or no? Let's have a try. Tony, can we feed cheese or meat into the worm farm? Oh, Tony said no, thank you. So some things attract mice and rats to your worm farm, so we're going to keep those things out, and other things break down very slowly, and the worms actually eat the things that are growing, the bacteria that's growing on our food as it breaks down, or all our waste as it breaks down. So if it breaks down slowly and they've only got a small home to live in, we want to give them their favourite food, and then they can break it down nice and quickly and have a happy home. Okay, so I'll take that dairy and meat and pop it in the bokashi or the normal bin, or the waste. Okay, we've got one colour left. Let's have a look. Ah, this one might be for the grown-ups at home. We have coffee grounds and tea bags. Do you think coffee and tea are okay to add to your worm farm? What do the adults at home say? Yay or nay? Let's try. Tony, can we give worms coffee and tea? Let's have a try. Yes, we can. So that's a fantastic addition. And if you have a look at all the things that we've saved here from going to landfill, there's quite a variety of things in there that are made up of different nutrients. So what the worms do when they digest all our waste, they turn that into amazing plant food, but it's actually worm poop or castings. Have you heard of castings before? Can you say castings? So worm castings are full of the nutrients of that waste that they've broken down, and then that allows the plants, when we give the castings to the garden, to take up all those nutrients from our waste and make the plants nice and strong. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute on the board. So, how good did we do? We saved so much from going off to that rubbish tip and breaking down in a really yucky way. We can build soil with all this stuff. So let's see if you remember all the things that we asked Tony about. Okay, now you yell out if it was a yum or a no thanks. So, veggie scraps, yum. Eggshells, yum. Tea bags, yum. Onion, no. Cheese, no. Meat, no. Citrus, no. Fruit, yes. Ripped paper, yes. Coffee grounds. Yes. Animal fur. Yes. Well done, everyone. That was great remembering. So, as you can see, we can be saving a lot of things from going to the rubbish tip, okay? And how are we going to give it back to the garden? With thanks to the worms, I'm going to show you right now. Oh, I'm going to bring this board down here. So, let's say that we've just organised our picnic for the morning, okay? We might have had some cut up apple to take and some carrot sticks. Beautiful. Sometimes people eat the apple core and sometimes the carrot top, but often they have these things left over. So we're going to have our carrot tops that are going to be left over and our apple core. So what can we do with those things? Well, we already asked Tony about that, didn't we? Can they be fed to worms? Yes, they can. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to take our wiggly worms, and these are going to live over here on the board, our wiggly worms. Now these are composting worms, okay? These ones live at the top part of the soil, and they eat all the food that's fallen down from the forest, or in a worm farm, they eat everything that we feed to them. So, what happens when the worms digest, eat our waste? Goes through their body, and they do their poop, their castings. So, we're going to put our castings down here. Thanks, worms, for making these worm castings. And how do we give that back to the soil? Well, what we're going to do, we're going to go out into the garden and have a look at all the plants that are growing. So there might be plants growing food for us or all the other creatures that live in this place, and they all survive off the plants as well, don't they? Whether it's the air that they breathe or the food that they eat. So what we can do is we can take those worm castings and we're going to dig them around our plants and give them back to the soil, or I'll show you another way where we can make it into a worm tea. And when we feed the soil, so all that, what we sometimes call dirt, but it's not dirt, it's full of life under our feet. It's not just the worms that live there, lots and lots of other creatures work together. And when we feed our worm castings back to the soil, that will encourage all that life to grow busy and strong. So there's going to be other worms that are going to be taking up all the nutrients from around the soil and turning it into all that plant food for the plants to grow, to take up and to grow strong. When they grow strong, there might be other creatures that want to come and eat the plants, and what we want to do is we're going to say, hey, we're going to grow stronger plants, and the plants will then thrive, and they might make more food and grow healthy and strong food for us with lots of nutrients inside. So when the soil's healthy, then we can grow food that is healthy as well. So we've got some apples growing in that tree and some big healthy carrots growing in the soil, and that will allow us to have more nutritious food, which is big and healthy and strong and full of nutrients for our bodies to get the energy. And then when we still give our waste, thanks to the worms, we can give back to the soil, and the plants will be healthy and stronger as well. So you can see how, just by taking our scraps and giving them to the worms, that we can be part of a healthy food movement. And that way we can continue to be healthy, and so can the environment. But we just need to work with the worms. Okay? So I'm going to show you my worm farm now. It's outside, and we can take our scraps from the game and go feed the worms. So come with me. All right, let's go. Thanks, Tony. So we've got our worm farm here. This one's called a tiered worm farm. And a tiered worm farm has a little tap down the bottom. And at the top, this level here, I'm going to lift the lid, and you can see some of the things that I've added already over the last couple of weeks. So I've got some things in here. I'm going to add all these things that we collected and saved from going into the bin. And we're going to add them in here. All right, I'm going to take this layer off and you can see what was been happening from the previous months. So that was probably 4 months ago, all our scraps that went in there. And look at all those beautiful worms breaking it down. And all that black stuff is called, there's the worm castings. So that is such powerful stuff to give back to the garden. And our plants are so strong and happy and healthy. And you don't have to go buy that stuff. It's just from what we save from going in the bin. So how cool is that? And then you take this liquid that falls through from the castings, you pop it in your watering can and you make it into a tea. So it's probably about 10% worm juice, the rest of water, and then you pour it all over the garden and you can't get enough of that. It's beautiful, beautiful stuff. So I wonder whether you've had a worm farm at home or maybe you've got one at your kinder or school. They're really easy. There's another way that you can worm farm as well. It's called a worm tower. This is a worm tower. You can make them out of pipe or you can make them out of buckets. My friend Michelle painted this. How cool is it? So this is a real worm tower when you have a look at all these little windows there. At the bottom, there's some holes drilled. And what you do is you bury them in the garden to about here. And then the worms can go in and out. And then you put your scraps in the lid and keep it nice and dark, because remember they like things nice and dark. And then all the scraps in here get eaten by the worms. And all the nutrients can go through these holes, and as can the worms. So you don't really have to care for them like you do with the tiered worm tower. This one here is just so easy to go. Just give it a go. Now, Tony and I, before the virus was around, we could come and visit groups at kinders and schools and community, markets and whatnot. At the moment, we have to just do this video and share online. But if you'd like us to come and visit your group, you get in touch with us. I'm also going to be holding a competition and giving away one visit from Tony and I. And we're going to bring a plain one of these so you can paint it up yourself. And we can put a worm tower at your kinder or your community group and teach you all about worm farming in person. So what I'd love you to do is take everything that you learnt today and put it into a bit of a drawing. So you might put your worms in the garden, or you might have worms in the worm farm and all the food that you learnt all about that worms can eat, and make it into something beautiful and creative and send it in. And I would love to see what you've learnt today. And thank you so much for all the great things that you do to help the environment. I'm sure you do other things. And if worm farming is something you feel like you can do, I'm always open for answering any questions that you might have. And yeah, together we can all make this beautiful place healthy and thriving for people and for creatures. And it's very, very easy, and I know that you can do it. And thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a wonderful festival, and yeah, keep up the good work at home. See you guys. Thanks for joining.